I was considered the best painter in town. And he gave me a paint job that didn't work for me. I mean, it was really a mess. And so I thought, if he's the best, at the time I was in Dunwoody learning apprentice mechanic. I was an apprentice mechanic for the power company. And they would pay half of any courses I wanted to take that were automotive related. And I said, well, you know, it's always been a mystery to me how they get the dents out of things and how they make things shiny and beautiful. So I took the course at Dunwoody. I was there for 3 years, a night course on the end. And, that's what gave me the strength to want to go ahead and try it. You know, you learn the basics, and then you take it from there. I guess the first candies that I did was really an exciting part of my life. It was lacquers back then. But the second and probably the greatest experience of my life was being the first custom paint company with base coat clear coat. To be able to encapsulate those bases, and we used to cook them outside. I mean, it was so flammable. You're heating flammable liquids to 170 degrees to encapsulate the metallics so that they would self-align. And what we used to have to do in the old days is you'd base it the night before you painted, because the base had to be thoroughly dry so you could pump on 6 or 7 or 8 coats of candy and not have the base move. And then you'd wait another 2-3 hours before you clear coated, because if you did the candy and the clear together, the bases would start to get soaked and they would start to move. Well, when they came out with the encapsulation, I mean, I learned that. Went to the paint show in Washington, D.C., and there was a guy in there with a little tricycle painted candy colors. I mean, it was like a candy blue. And I said to the old guy, I said, you know, what's this all about? He said, well, we've developed something. We realize now how the Europeans are making the base coats, and we figured it out here with our own methods here in the United States. And I said, I'm so interested in this, I can't tell you. And at the same time, I had another company that was trying to copy what I was doing. And so when I came home with this, I'm telling you what, I was so happy. I couldn't believe it. I started working with this guy. He said, you know, you're the only one that's had any interest in what I'm doing here at the show. I've only got one paper on it, and I'm going to give it to you. And I went home and studied that. I bought some of their materials. I started playing with it, and I got to tell you, I threw away a few 55-gallon drum batches by making mistakes. And you try to make your mistakes in the smaller batches. You think you've got it. But back then, all I could afford was I couldn't have a 2-stage reactor. And what they used to do is they'd shoot steam into a jacketed reactor to create the heat, to get it to melt and bond around the metallics. Well, I had 2 drum heaters outside, you know, blowing fuses right and left, but I got it, man. And in the fall of 1982, I introduced the Cosmic System. And if there was a time that this company leaped and leaped and leaped, that was it. I mean, I was seeing $500,000 in growth in 3 or 4 months. And I mean, I couldn't pay my bills. You know, what do you do when you got all that paint out in the street? And they're paying you in their 30-day periods, but you got to, if you've ever dealt with a raw material supplier, if you are 3 days late, 3 days late,
there's a guy knocking at the
you're
door.
cut off. You are cut off until that check clears. And so I learned, I went to the bank and I told them what was going on with my company, and they were kind enough to give me a line of credit. And that was my first $100,000 line of credit. So I could now pay my bills and continue to grow. Those first 2 years, it was monumental growth. We went from a $500,000 company into multi-millions. I came out with, and I started using 100% organic pigments. And that was unheard of in the paint world. They would buy the inorganics because they're $25 a pound is the most expensive. The cheapest organic was like $65 or $70 a pound. And I said to I had a consultant helping me because I'm not a chemist. I mean, I barely made it through high school. But he said to me, well, John, they do that because it's a great cost saving. If they put 1 pound of the inorganic or the iron oxides in, they can pull 3 or 4 pounds of the organic out, and look what that does. I said, yeah, but what does it do for the paint? He says, well, it dirties it a little bit. I said, I can't have it. I want to use 100% organic. And that, if nothing else, along with that encapsulation procedure, having base coat, clear coat with the brightest colors of anyone. Only recently have they started to use 100% organic, and like on the Vipers, and have you paid $225 for a quart of paint lately? Well, that's kind of what it is when they go when they really feel they have to have a premium. And I was selling a quart of it for $50, $60 back in those days. So yeah, but how do you tell someone that you have a body shop in Minneapolis and you're a paint manufacturer? It took 6 or 7 years before people started to grasp that what I was doing was considerably different than what the big guys were doing. You know, they were putting more money in their pocket, but it was pride for me. And I never expected to sell a quart of it to anybody. I was doing this for me, you know, and I'd tell painters at seminars. I mean, I've been teaching seminars now for 33 years. It seems crazy that I've been doing them that long. But it's really helped because then I get out there, not only with the videos and the books, but to be face to face with a painter and answer their questions. And I had one guy out east, and he's a very famous painter. I mean, he's still a winning painter. You can eat off the floor of a shop most any day. And he called me up and said, I can't work with your stuff, it's no good. Well, he was intermixing it. He was mixing it with other companies and wasn't getting results. And I told him, I said, just try it once pure. And I think I sent him the stuff free. And he has been an aficionado and a believer in our products ever since. So it's just getting people to understand what we're doing that's different.